The title of the conference is Beyond Chemicals, Homeopathy for Natural Disease Prevention in Livestock and Crops.
Today, we have a lovely return guest that we haven't had on the podcast for quite a while, but holy moly, last time I had this man on, we had so many people emailing and saying, that guy is a crack up. Thank you so much. His podcast was amazing. It's inspired me. It's the one and only Pat Aherne.
About the third week of June, and growth just exploded. And because there was peas in the crop, protein, the birds were in on top of the crop eating the peas. And I'm not talking a couple of dozen, I'm talking in the hundreds. And I put up a scarecrow, then I put up a kite of a hawk, and they realised that was a kite and it only blows in the wind and there was no wind. And it dawned on me, I said, hold on a second, could I not just get the energy of a hawk, the bird of prey, of the pigeon? I said, could I not get the energy? Is possible? Is there such a thing? And could I not spray it on the crop?
Hello, homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout Podcast, where today we have a lovely return guest that we haven't had on the podcast for quite a while, but holy moly, last time I had this man on, we had so many people emailing and saying, that guy is a crack up. Thank you so much. His podcast was amazing. It's inspired me. It's the one and only Pat Aherne. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Hello, Eugenie. Good morning or good evening or whatever it is. Time zones are a bit of an issue, but we're okay. I'm here. I'm saying hello and delighted to be back and delighted you invited me back. So yeah, how are things with you?
It's good. It's good. I'm just really excited to have a little chat. You have been very busy, and I love seeing you pop up on my social media all the time with all the incredible things that you're doing. But what is this I hear about a conference that you're organizing? Tell me all about it.
Well, yes, conference. What started out as a very simple text with a neighbouring country of yours, New Zealand. It's Tracy Simpson, a dairy farmer, share milking 700 cows with her husband, and been using homeopathy for a number of years. And we've been back and forth. It was actually the very first communication I had and introduction to Agri-Homeopathy. And I just sent a text to her one night. I go, so are you planning to come up to the Northern Hemisphere anytime? She says, yeah, actually, yeah, we're just discussing about coming up next year. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I kind of left it at it. That'd be nice. It'd be great to meet her and so on. Because you know what now? Well, she's actually up here. Why don't I take an opportunity and maybe arrange a number of farmers to call to my yard and meet this amazing woman? You know, homeopathy isn't just for a quack with a couple of cows out in the back garden. Homeopathy is for the big farmers as well. And one word borrowed another, and before I knew where I was, it had snowballed pretty much into a conference. And before I realised it, it actually is not just going to be a first for Ireland, but it's, from what I understand, it'll be a first for homeopathy internationally. It is an Agri-Homeopathy Conference by farmers for farmers. And it's going to be good. And then listening to you and your podcasts and you on about your conference in Bali, I was like, hold on a second. No, excuse me. My conference is number one, not your conference in Bali.
Actually, when is your conference?
So it's on in Kilkenny in June the 5th, and we have a lineup of speakers. We decided to kind of cover all bases. So again, it's through whole health agriculture, and it's about, again, sustainability and reducing antibiotics and chemicals in farming. And they're straight away, they saw the speakers and said, yeah, we're on board. So they're giving us a very decent discount towards it and promoting it as well. And they have a huge client base. I think one of them said to me, we'll be sending out 9,000 emails. I was like, oh, okay. We got 1% of them, like, it'll be brilliant. So yeah, at the moment we're designed around 70 people turning up, but the room can fit 250 from what I was told. So yeah, the aim is 250 at it. Surprisingly, there is a lot of interest out there, a lot more than is expected. Positive interest, I would say. Now, get that positive interest to being bums on seats would be even better. But the National Farm Organisation, Irish Farmers Association, have taken it on and texting all their members, which is the best part of 50,000 members. The other farmer organisations, the Irish Cattle and Beef Sheep, ISMSA, I think is what they're called, are texting as well, and all other farming organisations. And then a biggie is mainstream media being interested.
Wow.
And so I have the number one farming newspaper, the Farmers Journal, is at the moment we're talking anyway, And he says, okay, Pat, you've come a long ways here. Yeah, this could be of interest. And he goes, but where's the science? And he goes, well, the science is going to be there on the day. I'll give you a free press pass. But also the science, he says, well, can you give me a vet, a large animal vet? I goes, no problem. I said, there's about 8 or 9 of them there. I said, I'll give you one, no problem. He said, yeah, look, I just need to talk to her just to give it a backbone. And I can then go to my editor and say, listen, this is not quackery. There's science behind this. There's vets backing this up. And yeah, so hopefully that'll be on 2 weeks prior to 22nd. That's going to be on national paper. And there's another newspaper. I'm having a little bit of issues, but hopefully I'll be able to sweet talk my way around. And then one radio station that has quite a large listenership and has an agricultural talk show, I think on a Tuesday night or something, quite a large listenership. She's invited me on. So that's a big step. Yeah.
That's amazing, Pat. I'm so excited for you. Look at you go, organizing conferences now. That's
No,
amazing.
I'm a tiny cog in this wheel. I mean, okay, I am the PR. I kind of by default ended up becoming the PR guy. Oh, and actually last December was my big break to mainstream media. I ended up on an afternoon show on a national radio station. And the guy is very quick fire. So I listened to him and I knew this guy was going to be fast. He was going to come in hard on me. So I went in first. And I threw the first couple of punches at him and I just didn't give him air to breathe, basically. And I just kept coming in and I was on about ignitia and all this and so on and so on. And looking after the animals emotionally and psychologically and so on and so on. And he was speechless. He was speechless. And then I just came in with one killer line. I don't know where it came off. This is Sean, my cows are like a finely tuned orchestra, and I am their conductor. He couldn't come back at me. And and then the texts afterwards were excellent. Make this man the Minister for Agriculture and make him the Taoiseach, the Prime Minister of the country. He'll rule.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
with this conference, is it just for homeopathy for the animals or the land as well? So when you say agri-homeopathy, you mean both?
So we're covering what it is beyond. It's the title of the conference is Beyond Chemicals: Homeopathy for Natural Disease Prevention in Livestock and Crops. So then we have our chairman on the day will be Lawrence Woodward, who has an OBE and former advisor to none better than King Charles, current King of England. I think he was his advisor for, I'd say, the best part of 20 plus years.
Is that for his dairy? Because I know he's got like organic sheep, like an organic sheep farm.
I think he's organic sheep, and I think he's beef as well. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Yeah. He has enough land to be able to have everything, literally. So it's tillage and everything. And Lawrence is like, you might think, like, why should we have somebody that was the advisor to the King of England coming over to us here in Ireland telling us how to farm? Well, like, Lawrence is actually a most down-to-earth, level-headed, open book individual. And don't worry, he's actually from southwest of Ireland, himself born and reared in southwest of Ireland, went over to the UK at a young age and managed to work his way up. And eventually he got the attention of, at the time, Prince Charles, and ended up becoming his advisor and is very well known in organic circles. So a wealth of knowledge. So to have him chairing it and is, again, giving us a good backbone and reputation. And then we are moving on then to the first discussion then is a workshop. It's an 80-20 approach, prevention 80% of common livestock health issues and 20 key remedies that you could use that could, again, dramatically drop your antibiotic usage on your farm and improve fertility and productivity. So it will be our main vet from Wholehead Agriculture, Chris Auckland, and the CEO, Jackie Pierce-Dickens, and Tracy Simpson from New Zealand. So that will be a three-way discussion, and that will be, very informative. And then we're moving on then to a presentation. It would be Going for Growth, Homeopathy for Healthier Crops and Increased Yields. And that is Charlotte Southall, who is a very well-known homeopath, and she literally was given, didn't realize homeopathy and plants kind of went together, and she was literally given these dead tomato plants 1 week, and she said she's just had a go at giving them remedies, and amazingly they came back to life and had a massive crop from them. So then she kind of went down the biodynamics route and your diamondized homeopathic preparations, and she's now currently in Brazil on a doctorate with, I don't know what you've heard of her, is Leonie Broneman. She
Nice.
has a doctorate where she's a doctor of veterinary medicine in the University of São Paulo in Brazil, master's degree and a PhD. And she's working side to side now with Charlotte, and they're working with farmers in Brazil in vineyards. So
Amazing. I know
if
Brazil is very open to homeopathy. They
yeah,
really embrace it over there. That's so brilliant. So
yeah,
brilliant.
and that's what I've actually have said to the journalists, the mainstream journalists. I said, look, I said Ireland likes to boast itself that, oh, look at us, we're very advanced and we're producing such top quality food. And yes, we are. But how they say that, and we're exporting 90%. But honestly, this is coming in behind us. And if I'm going to be brutally honest, we are actually in 21st century farming, we are behind the curve. We like to think that we're at the edge of the curve. Yes, we are if we were going to be thinking 20th century system of farming. But we are definitely way behind, and this is going to pass us out before we realize it, and we have to really come to terms with it. And I said, because I've seen videos and I've seen photographs of not our typical our trial plots here in Ireland with our research facilities would be maybe 5 or 10 acres. And I said, there's trial plots in Brazil and South America. They're 800,000, 1,200 hectare trial plots.
Did you say
They're
trial
growing
plots? So
rice.
that's when they're like trialing new methods, or what do you mean?
Yeah, and homeopathic. This is homeopathic
Oh,
trial plots. And they're growing crops where there's literally zero water availability. And they're just spraying the crops to, again, reading the symptoms picture of your plant and applying the remedies accordingly. And I said, like, I spoke to one of the researchers, and he actually said to me, he said, we are matching chemical farming and in some cases surpassing yields of chemical farming. These crops are just mind-boggling, like the color, they're just radiating energy. So that would have been a couple of years ago, and about 23, I decided I was going to grow my own whole crop, which would be peas, barley, and multi-species grasses.
and you did clover
Multi-species
as
are,
well, hey? Because I remember seeing
yeah, yeah,
yeah, a
yeah,
post that you did about your clover.
yeah, that's right. And he was actually, credit due, was Camilla Schur, kind of got me down this road. And we ended up communicating with each other, had a couple of Zoom calls. I mean, most down to earth, genuine woman you could ever come across. And it was actually, I was texting her away and I said, look, I want to do this. Will you give me assistance? And she's like, yeah. Again, I wasn't realizing that it's literally the same remedies that you'd give to yourself, that you give to your animals in whatever drought, heat, stress, all that. So I planted the crop. I had just literally turned the sod, planted the crop, and it did actually this time of the year, or the first week of May, and a little bit of rain. And then the first 2 weeks, oh, I applied through the sprayer. Then we just sprayed on silica and tissue salts to establish your root and just to get the minerals working in the ground. And then the crop was coming up nicely. I began to break ground, and then we got hit with an intense 2 weeks of dry weather. I mean, like it was burning heat, and we thought this is it. We're in for a long, hard summer here. And I had a Zoom call with Camilla. I goes, listen, the crop could be failing here. I don't want it to fail. I need this to work. And she's like, okay. She said, just go out to the corner of each corner of your field and literally just spray a circle, water can. And so, and it was only a 5 acre plot of ground that I was doing this on. And she said, just do it in each corner and do it on the middle of the side so that literally they'll communicate, the energy will flow through the ground in the moisture. I was like, oh, I says, oh, no, 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 that's not going to work. I says, that's not going to work. He says, why? I says, it's bone dry. It's dust here. I said, there's nothing. There's no moisture. It's like here in Ireland, when the sun shines, it just comes out. It's intense. And then it starts raining again, maybe. But our weather just switches violently from one system to the next. And she's like, oh, right. Well, look, get a, get a, get yourself a knapsack sprayer and walk around the headland and create your own energy dome around the field. I was like, okay, right. So I went out with Belladonna and Sol and walked around. I literally, now, when I'm not living in rural Ireland, I'm living in a very built up area. And I literally looking over the ditch. I hope the neighbors don't see me here now. I'm walking around with a knapsack sprayer and I just spraying it. And I literally taking photographs, and you could see these plants were standing up to the heat. And literally a mile down the road, my neighbor was failing. They were withering in front of him, and mine were standing up. And then the rain came in about the third week of June, and the growth just exploded. And because there was peas in the crop, protein, the birds were in on top of the crop eating the peas. And I'm not talking a couple of dozen, I'm talking in the hundreds. And I put up a scarecrow. Yeah, that was a good perching stop for them. Then I put up a kite of a hawk, and yeah, they realized that was a kite and it only blows in the wind, and there was no wind. And again, I got on to Willa. Oh, sorry, then it dawned on me. I says, hold on a second. Could I not just get the energy of a hawk, the bird of prey of the pigeon? I said, could I not get the energy? Is it possible? Is there such a thing? And could I not spray it on the crop, or to that effect, to scare off the birds, so they would think there's hawk inside the crop? So got on, just text Camilla. Goes, is this possible? Oh yeah, yeah. Falcon P. Look, go 200C. She said, no, sorry, 30C. See what happens. So again, repeated it. Walked around the headland again. My son looking on at me, literally going, yeah, he's definitely lost it. Like, I mean, knapsack sprayer. Like, what an idiot. But anyway, so he turned around. So I walked around and came back into the office. Of course, like when the birds saw me, they'd fly away, they wait till you leave, and then they swoop back in again and went back up then and in a window actually from the shed overlooking that particular field. And what I noticed is that they all kind of arrived back in, but then there was a kind of over a couple of days, I noticed there was a significant drop in numbers. I says, is this working or not? I said, like, I'm going to lose the crop. I'm going to lose the crop. I said, hold on a second now. I says, I'm into this homeopathy. Yeah. So I know how this works. I said, if I was the ordinary Joe soap trying this, I literally would have said, this doesn't work. But I had noticed there was a dramatic drop in numbers. I said, don't look at it as a flock of birds. Look at it as a group of individual birds on different frequencies. And I again said to Camilla, when I go up to 200C and just see what happens? She goes, yeah, sure, no harm done. So I went around, repeated it again at 200C, again, walked the headland and then crisscrossed it so that literally the ground is communicating the signal across it and you're creating this energy dome. And back up into take off the knapsack, and I was looking out the window. And honest to God, there's no way you would have been able to catch this properly on a phone or on a camera. And literally, you'd see the birds swooping in and they just literally pulling back and landing on the other side of the wire. They're like, no, 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 they ain't going in there. No, there's something in there. No, that's not right. And you could see them walking up to the electric fence where the boundary, and they walking up to the boundary where I had sprayed and just going, no, this isn't good. And they all were on the other side of the fence, a couple of hundred. And I'd say within a couple of hours, they just dispersed and went away and they never came back.
I mean, I've heard a lot of pretty amazing things on this podcast, and I was pretty sure I had heard everything. But this is next level. This is next level. I mean, how do you explain that? It's incredible. In fact, every year in summer, I mean, to try that here in Perth, it's actually spray the remedy that's made from the fly around our property. And I've never actually done it, but now that you've said that, I am going to do that because we have so many flies over here. But I like that idea of creating a dome, like kind of like, or like an energetic boundary. So like going like around and then crisscross, but even the circles on the edges. That's really great.
Yeah, yeah. So then again, I left the crop then to develop itself, and it was one of Charlotte's actually, I think, colleagues in her university in Coventry. I think she's based in England, and he saw the crop and he was completely blown away by it. He just couldn't believe that for such a tough summer that we were having, because when actually, when I said it started raining in June, then in the third week of June, and the crop exploded, and then I harvested it. Then I think it was the end of July. It was just, he said it was just, you could see it. He's in the photographs. It was just booming, vibrant energy, and like zero chemicals applied, cut the crop, and within 3 weeks, the cows were inside eating. I was blown away by it. So that was a good trial. So like I'll be discussing that with Charlotte on the day in the conference, and plenty of photographs to show, and of course tell the story about the pigeons. And I was actually talking to an energy guy who can still do signaling work. He's based in South Africa, and I said about the 200C, and he said actually there was no need for the 30. If you went out with your 200C, the energy in the ground would actually balance it. So one field could be at 180, the other field could be at 165. That's how powerful the energy, the frequency is in our planet, in our soil. And like
Amazing.
we're not even scraping the tip of the iceberg at this, like with our fingernail. And So yeah, that's it then with Charlotte. And then after lunch, then we will be then having a presentation on starting and staying strong, a New Zealand approach to calf rearing. And Tracy Simpson is literally, I call her New Zealand's calf queen, that she just loves her calves and she is passionate about them and she rears them to a T. So
Oh,
that will be very, very interesting because rearing calves, if you get it wrong, it can turn out very expensive and in some situations lose your shirt. And, I mean, some guys, some calves don't even get up to puberty, shall we say, to breeding. And, these are losses. These are financial losses to farmers. So to listen that all you do is put in again these very simple remedies through the drinking water can turn your business around. So then the last presentation of the day is a discussion, a forum, and this will be the key part to it because this originally started off in November 17, all on my own, taking that trip to England and setting up the course in November 18. So I was the only guy, and thankfully now I'm not the only guy. There's plenty of other farmers out there with
oh,
vast wealth of knowledge. So much so they've seen such dramatic improvements in their herds and so fascinated by homeopathy. There's currently, I think, 6 farmers. These are full-time working farmers who are taking the time to study the 4-year human homeopathy course. And one of
wow.
them will be just qualified about the week beforehand as pretty much Ireland's first publicly exposed farmer homeopath.
Oh,
And yeah, and he's that guy, he's a natural. He is
yeah.
a natural. He just talking to you, he go, that person needs that remedy. And you're like, well, how'd you know that? Oh, I just know I can read them. And so yeah, he's up and coming kind of guy.
Oh, that makes
And
me so excited. And it's exciting to get some male homeopaths as well, because it's definitely very female dominated with the new homeopaths coming through. Like a lot of our lecturers are males, but a lot of the actual homeopaths qualifying, if you look at like graduation photos, like all females, like now and again, you're lucky if there's a guy. So I'm glad to hear
yeah,
few more males
yeah,
joining
he's
the
yeah,
ranks.
he's yeah, because there's another guy then is John Thompson. He's a beef farmer. He's in his 3rd year, and he just decided, look, I'm going to do this. And then he realized that, oh my God, I'm after getting into this now. What am I going to do? But I'm in it now. So yeah, he said it's tough, but he's enjoying it. He's 67. But as I said, look, John, one way or the other, you know yourself, like when you're getting on in age, your brain is getting a bit slower, so you need to keep it working. And like, there's no use you being out there in the shed with your beef cattle and you're getting a little bit, slowing down where you have this other thing to keep the brain going. He goes, yeah, 100%. My brain's on fire, like on fire.
Oh, you're such
And
a good
so yeah,
salesperson, Pat. I love how you're selling all these people on homeopathy. It's awesome.
But Paul is telling me of one of his student cases for his course. And the woman came in and she had chronic hay fever, zero quality of life when she get an attack, and the pollen as well, yourself. And this is how fast he is now. And you won literally the first course now, it is down to the patient to be able to talk. And she's, oh, I was on holidays in Spain and we had to get a taxi, and the taxi cost us so much money. And I hate giving taxis money. I just hate it. I can't understand why you need to pay somebody to drive you from A to B. It's just, oh. And he goes, arsenicum. That's what you are. And yeah, and I was like, arsenicum, what's that got to do with it? And he goes, well, now, Pat, he said, my supervisor was telling me, listen, Paul, just make this easy on yourself. There's 12 remedies for hay fever. Just write in 12 remedies and send us the paper. And he goes, but that doesn't solve the problem. That's the easy way out. You're teaching us that on the course, one remedy for the problem. So then, as you said, he then in the first interview with her, yeah, he said, pure easy. It's not that easy all the time, Pat, but she was arsenicum. And I literally just gave her arsenicum 30C, and literally that's it. Hay fever cleared up. That was her
Wow.
remedy. Bang, cleared up. And yeah, well, his supervisor couldn't had nothing to go back on. But
Oh.
yeah, that's how good he is. So
Mm.
like yeah, there's myself, Elisa Anderson. She's a new entrant to dairy farming. She's from the very northwest of Ireland, Donegal. Paul is in the middle of Ireland in Offaly. And John Thompson, and he's a dairy farmer as Paul. John Thompson's a beef farmer. And the good thing about also Lisa Anderson being a new entrant, and there's quite a few, and thankfully in the last couple of years have come in, and she's in a rough weather related part of the country. And she's 3 years in now as a new entrant into dairy farming, and she's 2 years antibiotic free.
Oh. Amazing.
So yeah,
And it's not
yeah.
just, I
And so
mean, the thing I love about this, it's not just wonderful for the animals and for the land, but it's so good for us, like not consuming that secondhand
oh yeah.
antibiotics. It's just, I feel like, when I've had Camilla share on the podcast as well, and the way she's talking about how they're regenerating the soil and all that, I just feel like this is what Mother Earth needs. Like for us to just, yeah, ditch the chemicals. And it's not just that you're getting yields as good as the people who are using chemicals, but your land overall gets stronger and, you know, less resistant to chemicals as well. Because often with the chemicals, if they're using it on the land, they need to use more and more and more. There's like chemical resistance and antibiotic resistance and all these sorts of things where when we can do it with homeopathy and it's giving you these
Oh, we
amazing
can.
yields, it's like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, as I said, we're at the very beginning of this,
I always
and
just,
this has.
yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, I think these people that are such proud skeptics, if you're really a skeptic, for you to be a skeptic, it requires you to like have an open mind and actually consider all the possibilities that are out there. But people are just so quick to shut homeopathy off without trying it themselves.
Yes, 100%. And the beauty of doing it in farming is that, like, well, here's the proof. Here's my animals. Here's my fertility. Here's my veterinary bill. Oh, sorry, actually, I don't have a veterinary bill because I don't, you know. So, like, and that's the proof. And this is, and the same with soil. I mean, there's with regulations, and again, the environment, EU regulations, and the environment and sustainability, they're trying to get farmers to cut back on their fertilizer usage. And like the farmers are coming out and says, we can't survive on anything less than 170 kilos of nitrogen per hectare. And like originally it would have been up at 250. And they're trying to get them back down. So I think at the moment it's down to 220. And literally they're saying, oh, we can't survive. Farming is gone. The world will starve. And there's myself and a couple of other lads. We went off down spraying it foliars, doing a foliar spray and adding in the likes of seaweed and humic and fulvic acid and then homeopathic remedies at the time, particular tissue salts and whatever is required for in relation to remedy. And so then they're saying that farming would be finished if it went to 170 kilos. So then I went in to my advisor, my government funded advisor, shall we say, and I said, I'm going to get the head chopped off me here. Like, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you using this? Is a new fertilizer to have this protected urea. That's just a whole, we won't go there. It's scientifically speaking, it's supposed to be a great product. It actually isn't. And there's other evidence to prove that. To be honest, Jay, some very serious people have said this is in 10 years' time, this will be the asbestos of the farming industry, is this particular fertilizer.
Wow.
But at the moment, it's fixing a gap. It's ticking the box. It's fine. So anyway, I refuse to use it. There's quite a number of lads refuse to use it. And most of them, what we do now is we get the ordinary urea that they're trying to ban and make illegal, but they will make it available for people that melt it down to liquid. And so then it's plant available. So once it hits the leaf, it's straight into the plant. It's not going up into the atmosphere. It's not going down into the soil and being washed away and going into our rivers. And using dramatically less fertilizer. Again, the cows are a lot healthier because they're not eating this chemically rich food. And again, the proof is in the pudding. They're way healthier and they're more fertile. And anyway, I went in and I sat down in front of my advisor and I thought my head was on the chopping block. She was going to have a field day. I mean, she's all smiles at me. Pat, how are you getting on? You really are ahead of the curve here now, doing your red clover silage and your multi-species grasses. I was like, oh, yeah, steep learning curve. Yeah, it's steep learning curve, but I'm still above water anyway, and so on. And she goes, okay, Pat, I just want to say there that most farmers are at between 150 to 170 kilos of nitrogen per hectare. I was like, yeah, right, okay. And I hadn't a clue what I was at. Like, and then she goes, yeah. And I just want to say that you're at 58 kilos. And I was like, all right, 58.
Wow.
And like my cows haven't gone hungry. And
Wow.
and yeah, yeah, even I was stunned. And I was trying to keep a straight face in front of her and say, sure, I knew that all along. Sure, yeah. So I was walking out of the office. I said, 58. Wow. And they're complaining that they can't survive on 170. And
Unbelievable.
yeah, and financially speaking,
Mm.
like the money you save, you would survive on. Well, now that's a bit extreme saying that, but
But how unbelievable. I mean, whenever, like this, I feel like this is the type of news stories that should be out there for everyone to hear. Like good news stories like that. That's unbelievable.
yeah. So yeah, that side of it and the discussion. And then also on the stand at the conference, we'll have stands because we're not allowed to promote remedies for sale for animals.
Oh, really?
But
Oh,
yeah, in our,
unless you're a vet.
well, under EU regulation, a farmer can treat his own animals, or as I prefer to say, assist your own animals. If you want to treat the animal, you give it drugs. But if you want to assist the animal, you can use homeopathic remedies on your own animals. You don't need a prescription. But the fact then that you're in continuous learning with the likes of Whole Health Ag, you can, but the remedies you're getting from either your vet or from a pharmacy, they can't promote it for animals. It's kind of a grey area because are you actually giving medicine to the cow? Well, if I am, please go test her, and you'll find nothing. So did I actually give her something? It's that's
Mm.
here nor there. You're neither here nor there.
Well, then at the
So
same
hence
time,
they
they
can,
try and say that homeopathy is placebo. So what do they care if you give it to your animals anyway? It was
I know,
annoys
but
me
then there's other
so much.
I know, but civil servants, they want to see paperwork, and if it stays on paper, it doesn't work. Well, then, why aren't you using antibiotics? You can't survive. You must be able to use antibiotics to be able to keep farming. That's their attitude. So, like, the stands we'll have is just to let people know these are pharmacies are available, but they're being on the, shall we say, the pretense of promoting human health or farmer health. And because if farmers say, I'm not putting those remedies near my animals, I'm not putting those remedies into my soil, I guarantee you won't kill yourself from the use of the remedy. You might die from
Falling
maybe
off a
the
tractor.
infection or whatever. Yeah, yeah. And there's a remedy for that too.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah, there's a couple of stands there and a couple of, shall we say, more sustainable agricultural stands, again, using natural inputs to your soil and helping your soil be more healthier and more productive. So, yeah, it will be a very good all-rounder. Also, it's a first, I think, for a homeopathic conference. We'll be streaming it live. And it also will be anybody that buys a ticket. So there's an in-person ticket is €95, and streaming is €45. But there is, and I'll put that into your show note later on, is because it's a government organization is hosting it, it's only available to people in Ireland. But
Oh.
if you put in, so if you're going to want to get a recording of this,
Mm.
or if you want to actually live stream it from wherever, Australia, America, New Zealand, just open up Google Earth, open up Ireland, or just pull out a map, and you'll see there's the counties of Ireland, and you in the purchase page on the website from the link, it'll say, where do you live? You say, I live in Ireland. And then you say, I live in Cork or Kildare or Donegal. And then the system will then think
Okay.
in Ireland, it'll then go through to payment. And then you purchase your ticket and you have access.
Ah, you are very smart, Pat. Very smart. Like that. Where there's, I think we need to make like a t-shirt for you or a hoodie that say, where there's a will, there's a way. Love it.
so,
So
so
we,
yeah, go on, sorry.
no, well, I was just gonna say, where do people buy tickets? And also, like, where do they find out more about you? I mean, you're known as the Homeopath Farmer on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else, but how do people get hold of the tickets?
The tickets, I'll send you on the link for it.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just easier just clicking the link than I trying to explain it. But as
Totally
I said,
fine.
if you're outside Ireland, just pretend you're in Ireland. That's what I'm saying.
That's amazing. Well, so that's great. So get that link to me. We'll pop it in the show notes. And you said it's the 6th of June, right?
5th of June, Thursday the 5th of June.
Thursday, the 5th of June. Okay, amazing. Because we'll get this episode out for you on the 12th of May. So it'll be next week. So the 12th of May, it'll come out.
Oh,
So
great.
it'll
Great
give
altogether.
a bit of,
Fantastic.
yeah, it'll give them a bit of time. So, Pat, just before we wrap up, do you want to share any final stories with us of what you've been using homeopathy for lately?
Yeah, actually, there was two incidents on the farm there, one a couple of years ago and one only last week. And there's a guy on the farm with me there at he's kind of part of the furniture the last 40 years. And I said to him, look, will you just move that trailer there? I said, it was a disused trailer. I said, it was in the way. Will you just lift it up out of the way and we'll do something with it, make a hen house out of it? And he said, that was grand anyway. When I was milking the cows, and the next thing he walks in and he literally just kind of was like, said, about to make a mistake. He said the trailer fell down and so on. And I was like, are you all right? And he said, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. So I went over to see what happened. And you'll see them on building sites, these telescopic loaders. And literally he had lifted it up and the rope had broken. And the trailer became a slingshot, and the pickup hitch of the trailer swung in and came literally, he has a moustache, And I'd say more than likely it came within touching the hair on his moustache. And so to see this coming in through the front windscreen and it's stopping on the hairs of your moustache, it was enough for somebody to realize that I've just missed it. And he came, and I didn't, and then I saw this. I go, see, God Almighty, what's after happening here? I went back over. I said, "You all right? You all right?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm all right." And the next second, he fell back against the wall. And I go, "Geez, the man's going into shock. He's going into shock." Aconite 1M. I have it upstairs. Ran up into the office, grabbed the 1M. Literally, I'm running down the stairs and I'm trying to put it into the cork of the bottle and they're falling everywhere. I said, open your mouth, open your mouth. And I just forced it into his mouth. And he goes, grand. I says, right, just take that, now, suck at that. I says, so then I had to go back into the milking parlour just to sort out the cow's side there. Came back up, looked at him. I goes, look, take another one, I says. And he's grand. And then then I went back down again to the milking parlour, and then I was kind of went back up, and I was looking around. Where are you? Where are you? And couldn't see where he was. Oh my God, where is he? And next, there's your man down the back of the yard, and he's scraping out the muck and collecting yard of the milking parlour. I said,
Wow.
and I went down and said, "You all right?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'm grand. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." I goes, "You're okay?" He goes, "No, no, I'm good. I'm good. I can work away now." Stunning.
Amazing.
How he just managed, yeah. And then just
I know
recently
we
then was
shouldn't be surprised, right? Like we see these things and we shouldn't be surprised, but yet we're always surprised. We're like, really? How could it work that fast?
yeah, yeah. And then there's my son, he was tipping a trailer and he's only 16. And as I said earlier, he kind of thinks at times like these remedies are a bit funny, like, I just go along with it kind of thing. And he was tipping the trailer and he hadn't attached the trailer properly and the trailer popped off the hitch. And thankfully, it was one of these safety builders trailers. They had air brakes and all that, so the whole system locked down. But still, the drawbar came up and it kind of caught the window of the tractor and tore it off the back window of the tractor. And he's seen this in slow motion. And the next the phone rings, he could hear him like, I goes, "You all right? You all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not injured. I'm okay. I'm still alive. I'm still alive." I goes, "Okay, what's that happening?" He explained. Now I knew it wouldn't have been bad because it had happened to me as well another time. And then so I went down to rely, and that with me, nothing had happened. It was just the trailer popped off and it was grand, no problem, no damage to the tractor, which is the least of your worries. But came down, had seen this, but like 16-year-old inexperience, and he just standing there, the eyes bulging out of his head, and his out mouth wide open. I goes, right, you up to the office, stay up there, and don't go near anything after for the rest of your holidays. And I looked to examine the situation because grand, it's okay, it's fine. I better get up to him now. And he just walked into the office and said, "Open your mouth, take Aconite 1M." I said, "Take that now." I says, and then I made up a spray bottle and I said, "Look, spray yourself every 5 minutes." I said, into the mouth, I said, and that's it. And that evening he came back to me, he goes, "To be honest with you," he said, "I actually would have been laughing. I'm laughing at you with your remedies, thinking you're a bit quacked, but I can honestly say that was powerful stuff what you gave me."
Wow. From a 16-year-old boy, that's pretty
Yeah,
amazing. Pretty amazing.
yeah,
Because they are
yeah.
honest. You don't
So
get any more honest than that.
yeah, right.
Wow. How amazing,
So
Pat.
yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, as I said, even as I say to farmers, look, it should be in your first aid kit. Have the
Yes.
basic understanding of
Yes.
remedies of homeopathy
Yeah.
and the amount of problems you resolve.
Mm.
Because I suppose in all workplaces there can be horrendous accidents, and yeah, to have that to get you out of the shock system and to
Yeah.
be able to sort out the situation you're in, because usually these farm accidents really are connected to family members.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to go back to work the following day and the following year. You're not the same person. Whereas if you
Yeah.
can have homeopathy, it helps you. And as my son said, I still know I had the accident. I still know I got lucky, but I'm coping with it. Is
Exactly.
what he
Rather
literally,
than somebody having PTSD for the rest of their life, having,
yeah,
night terrors or things like that, or that getting stuck in the vital force, which then ends up blocking their, physical healing, like those mental, emotional traumas ends up manifesting physically if you don't sort it out. And with homeopathy, we can just beautifully heal it in the moment, and then you don't have stuff that you deal with, decades down the track. But I just have one favor to ask you. Can you please write all these stories down? Like, because you have got some epic stories I know of, like calves having been saved, and like, what you've just said about the drought that you have with the land and all the accidents. And I think that would make a really good book of stories, like just Pat's book of homeopathy stories. I love that. Okay, so for all our amazing listeners around the world, I have a favor for you as well. Please go and share far and wide that Pat is hosting an Agri-Homeopathy Conference in Ireland, and let's really support this and get it out there. And if you can't make it to Ireland, then definitely support him online and watch live. And I'm guessing you're going to sell the recordings afterwards as well, probably? Or is it just live streaming?
It is recorded after, so once you purchase the ticket,
Okay.
you have access to the recording afterwards. Yeah.
Amazing. Alrighty. So let's get behind this because this is pretty epic what you're doing. And if you won't be able to go, send it along to people that you think might be interested, send it to every farmer friend that you have, whether you think they'll be interested or not, send it to them anyway, because you just never know. And we've got to plant those little seeds, right? Like you might forward this to a farmer at the moment, maybe just forward the podcast episode to them, and they might go, oh, that's hogwash, whatever. But who knows? Like a few months down the track, somebody else might mention it, and then somebody else might mention it, and who knows? They might go, oh, this homeopathy thing, maybe there's something to it. So we've got to plant those little seeds, no pun intended, actually. And you just never know where it's going to land. So get this episode out far and wide, and let's support Pat, because I think this is an incredible initiative that you're doing, and I think our planet needs it. So I think it's brilliant what you're doing. Thank you so much, Pat. It was always lovely to chat with you.
Yeah, and thank you to Eugenie. Thank you.